Welcome back, guys, to the Entertainment and Sports Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Marie, and it's really great to have you guys joining with us today, tuning in. If you haven't liked and subscribed and shared, we really appreciate the support. Also, to help get the voices of those awesome guests on our podcast out there to everybody. So we appreciate that. The Super Bowl is quickly approaching, and it's time to talk shop with an NFL pro and agent who can tell us both sides of the equation, especially where it all begins when it comes down to contract negotiations and things to that extent, the NIL space and the collectives there. I'm really excited to have a wide receiver and is now in the agent space. LeRon McCoy is with us today. And LeRon, we're super excited to have you. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here. Like you said, like, share, and subscribe, everybody out there.
I appreciate that. Hey, got another call out there. Awesome.
You got to pump the business when you can.
Honestly, you really do. Get that call to action on all pages, not just at the end or the beginning, right? Just always
All
got
the
to
time,
hype it
right?
up. Yeah, and you understand that from the agent space too. You always got to be on and you always have to make sure that you're networking. I feel like that's just my brain and how it always works. And so I can tell you're that same person. And you guys, especially in the sports side, that's a whole different world. That world is constantly revolving and moving. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in that, where you began from your roots for listeners who are just discovering you and are trying to figure out who is LeRon McCoy. You've got a really cool past and history. Tell us how you got to where you're at now. What got you started?
Okay. I think we all have cool little stories about us and track record of how we got to where we're at. For me personally, it just kind of came. I think everything just kind of just came out of nowhere for me. It's just one of those things where things just fall into place at the right time. I became a sports agent first by becoming a player. And so football wasn't even like my favorite thing to do. I never had dreams of going to NFL. That kind of wasn't my thing. I don't even really know what I wanted to do in high school. But if you play the sport and people find you, you just start playing the game. And if you're good, and next thing you know, some of these things kind of gravitated towards me. I went to a Catholic school. Well, actually from the inner city, went to a Catholic school and didn't play until my junior year. And literally got started by doing just outside, joking around with the kids, racing the fast kid on the team, beat that kid. The coach was out there, was like, hey, whoever you are, come get on the team. And so next thing you know, like I'm part of a football team and just trying to figure out how to play and this and that. And I took that and was able to leave high school with a bunch of scholarship offers around the country. Didn't have the academics to do so, went to a small prep school, a military academy in Virginia, and was there for a year. That kind of shaped a lot of things, just being down there, figuring out how things work in the military and realizing like this is not something that I want to do.
Yeah, that's a
And
world
then
of its own.
Nah, it was crazy. We just had I had younger kids kind of marching me around, telling me what to do. But the discipline part, you couldn't really beat that. And I needed it as a young guy. Um, I got to the point in my career at that stage where I had two options. I could, go back to school for an additional year to help complete my studies, so I was be eligible for Division I athletics. I had a scholarship offer, I think, to my last two places was Pitt and Tennessee. And I chose, Pitt, Tennessee, and UVA. And I chose University of Virginia to kind of finish. And they told me to come back for one more semester. And at that point, I could not see myself coming back to a small military academy where the little kids is making me shine shoes and march, salute the flag, wake up at 5 a.m. I just wanted to go to college, right? So I went to a Division II school, IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. It's it's hard to kind of, it's like mouth salad, but we definitely had the opportunity to have a lot more fanfare lately because Coach Signetti is that one with Indiana, the head coach of Indiana Hoosiers was actually a head coach of IUP. And to make it a step further, his father, Frank Signetti, coached me while I was at school at IUP. So a lot of people have been talking about the university lately. I was there and was able to get drafted to the NFL. Went to the Arizona Cardinals in the 7th round, and I was able to play there for a few years. Then the San Francisco 49ers, and then the Houston Texans was my last stop. And so the NFL comes at you fast. They give you a lot to deal with, and then it's over before you can't even really know it, So what seemed like a short amount of time for me really was like 6 years, but it just happened so quickly that, you're just transitioning out of college, you're learning how to be a professional, where to live at, things, this thing and that, figure out how the city works. Next thing you know, you're moving, and you never really get a chance to kind of like grow up and be an adult. And before you do, the game is over. And so I knew I wanted to be in the business. Um, I just didn't know I didn't want to coach. So everything I seen from coaches, I didn't like the hours. It didn't seem like a cool job. But the agent world was on the other side of it, and that's something that I gravitated towards. I knew a lot of the players. I felt like my business knowledge could help me out there. And then also, I had a younger brother that was really, really talented. And so I'm around NFL players all the time, so I can see what it looks like. NFL players stand out early. You can tell that they're gifted. And so I parlayed that into working for a sports agency, one of the largest in the country. So that's kind of, I guess, how I got my start in the agent world.
Yeah, that's super impressive. And I know you mentioned having a younger brother, but I also wanted to go back to, so your plans were not to go into the NFL. How did you get there? Like, I know that they drafted you and stuff, but like, where did that change? Where the
I
mind
don't think it really, I
change?
don't think it changed. I think that honestly,
Okay.
anybody that went to school with me would tell you, I thought I wanted to be, honestly, I think I wanted to be a rapper. It's like what I think my
Hey, all
career,
right.
that's where my journey was headed, just making music and mixtapes. And I wanted to be maybe like a DJ.
Oh,
Before all the podcast space was going on, I wanted to kind of be like a shock jock, right?
all right.
So
Are you doing
whenever
anything like that
young,
now?
nah, this is the closest I'm getting to that right here, doing a little bit of this.
I love
So no, I just football, like I said, football is just something that just gravitated towards me. Like I think like when you look back, the opportunity that I was given, I'm able to help the young men that I work with now because I know what it's like to fumble a great opportunity. Because I had it and I just didn't really care about it. It wasn't one of those, I wasn't the kid that slept every night thinking about
it. Right.
going pro. But if you don't carry it like that, then your results will show that. And I feel like that's kind of like where my career stood.
No, I think you're right. Honestly, so those people that don't do teach, right? But you have done it. And that's really great about you, especially in navigating some of these kids that are getting these contracts and getting these opportunities are so young. It's really hard to
Sure.
know what do you do at that age. Like you hardly even know who you want to date or what class you want to take, right? So like when you're talking about a huge contract deal, that's a whole different ballgame. So you have been on both sides of the equation, and that is super
Sure.
helpful, especially for an athlete. Your brother was, a huge football player. So you guys have got the sports, the pro, you've got the agent side, you've got all the different ins and outs and contract negotiation, things like that. So that makes you a very well-rounded agent, I would imagine. And from what I can tell, you're has led to your success of everything.
So I think like if you remember being back in like the your senior year of high school, wondering who you're gonna take to the prom, how that's gonna work, where you're gonna go, all that, right? Applying for different universities, waiting in the mail back then for your letter of acceptance to come in, right? Going through admissions, picking your classes, a syllabus, right? Getting it early,
Oh
make sure you
yeah.
had everything you needed, right? All that stuff is going on. Then mom, dad packing you up, big car, putting everything you need, books, bags, snacks, whatever, refrigerator, whatever you have for your dorm. Going to campus, figuring out who your roommate is going to be, for the dorm. Okay, so you have
Fun.
all that going on, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
meeting all your new teachers, professors. You're doing all that, figuring out the campus, how to get here to there. You're figuring all that out. Okay, now let's and now you have practice every day from these set amount of hours. You have to, log in to make sure that you're getting your weightlifting going, you're watching film or you're practicing. You may have games now if it's in the
Yep.
season. Meeting athletic director, advisors, all those things you're dealing with, right? So that's a typical what a schedule like of a life of a young man or young lady that is in sports and in college. Now let's add to that. Now we've given you $100,000, $200,000 and say like deal with it. Like you never had a job before. You had a bank account that maybe you might have rotating $30, $50 in there at any given time. Now we're giving you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You actually some people make more money than both of their parents combined, right? You're going to a new
Yeah.
place. You're dealing with all the regular pressure, and
Yep.
now added on top of that, you have a lot of money and not knowing how to deal with it or what you should look into. Quick segue. I have a young man that he just signed a new deal. I won't even mention his name or where he's at. He signed a new deal and he just got there in January. Right. So he got there like January like 10th and he's getting settled and where he's at is kind of cold. And he was like, I think I want a car. And I was like, bro, you sure you want a car? Like, the deal you got is very good. I was like, but what I'm saying? We got to work through some things. He was like, no, I think I want a car. He's like, I can afford a car. He's like, a car might be like 100 grand. I'm like, well, A, we shouldn't just buy a car flat out. B, I was like, you haven't even done the necessary things to talk about your taxes. And he was like, well, how much you think I'm gonna pay in taxes? And I told him, I was like, I'm not a tax professional. You have to ask your financial advisor, which he has one. And then so we started doing some quick math in my head. I'm like, okay, well, if we take out, let's say 20, 25%, he was like, that's how much they take? I'm like, yeah, bro, like this is their money now. And he couldn't believe that. Like he just couldn't believe that they were gonna take that much money. And I was like, yeah, that's part of this.
Yeah, it's a
So
reality.
so like I said, but he's 19 years old. So I can't be mad. He's 19. So it just what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, how are you supposed to know? Like, you can a lot of people at 25 don't even know stuff like that sometimes, right?
Right.
Especially if they live with their parents, they're just getting out of college. Yeah, there's a ton of struggles and everything when it comes to that space. And as an athlete, like as a student athlete, as they're navigating
Sure.
the NIL for the first time, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see that are made?
Just a lot of things. I think the first thing is like the way that you're compensated as an athlete is you will receive every dollar. You are not an employee of the school. You're a 1099 separate party. So if you're going to make $300,000 that year, you are going to get every dime of it. They have taken no money out for taxes. That is up to you to do. So I think that's kind of the first thing is to understand like, how much money you should be setting aside every time you get paid. Um, that would be the first thing. I think other mistakes that are made, I think just, trying to, and this happens in the NFL as well, like, the locker room is a culture, right? And, some cultures in certain locker rooms are better than others. But when you get in there, the first thing that we all want to do as people is you want to immediately immerse yourself, fit in. You might not want to just go along with what everyone else is doing, but you do want to not make a riff, right? And one of the things that guys like to do is they like to do what everyone else is doing. So these particular players have cars and houses. This place, I'm going to live over there. I'm going to drive that car. I'm going to buy this jewelry or do this, that, and the third. And you have to realize like what's for you is for you. You have to be an individual. And you can't fit in it and try to spend the same way other people spend. You don't know their scenario, their situation. And 9 times out of 10, you don't know their money. So you get a young guy that's 19, he wants to, but he's in the defensive back room and he's got seniors and juniors that have been collecting money for years and they have cars. Some may be like a car deal they have jewelry. Some may be a jewelry deal that they didn't pay for. You don't know. But you just start
Right, exactly.
spending to kind of fit in so that, you're looked as one of the guys. And next thing you're spending a lot of money, more money than you should be.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And let me tell you, we are fired up to have you here. Your likes, your subscriptions, your shares, every single one of them is a game changer for this program. This show runs on pure passion and self-funding, so your support keeps the lights on and the cameras rolling. You're not just watching, folks, you're part of the team. Keep that engagement coming, because together we're taking this show to the next level. Now here's where you come into the game. We want your suggestions, potential guests, topics you're excited about, stories you want to hear, industry professionals, friends in the field, subjects that fire you up. Send them all our way. Your input shapes this show, folks. The ball is in your court, so let's make it happen.
That's actually really true. I remember I've talked to so many different athletes, and that was one of their first things that they always would say. They're like, listen, when you first get in, it's very tempting to spend because you're getting a ton of money.
Right.
Or, going from living with parents where most things are free, right? To getting
Mm-hmm.
all this excess
Everything.
of money that, yeah, I mean, like everything is just extra, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to be careful. There's a huge temptation for everybody. Everybody got into that scenario, and you see it in the celebrities, you see it in the film industry, any type of industry, right? If you hit it big, you have that expenses that you want, you don't really, maybe you don't have a ton of expenses, maybe you do. You see money, you want to spend it to get to a certain level of status, whatever that is being pushed on you or you see
Right.
or is the norm. So I think it's really smart to have somebody like you that helps navigate
Sure.
that. What is like some ways that you work as an agent to be able to get to your clients? Because I know you're not the only person fighting for some of these guys.
Sure. Well, I think that one thing that separates me, I like to think, is just that I've been able to see the football field the same way that the person that I'm going after sees it, right? So I once was a kid in high school trying to make sure I had all my offers lined up, talking to college coaches. I did that part, going on college visits and knowing the questions to ask, how you feel, the pressure that they deal with. So I like to, kind of look at young men that way, like how would I perceive it, right? And then from the parent side, they look at it like, okay, this is their kid. This is someone that they love, and they want to make sure that all the right questions are being asked from an older, more mature standpoint. But I look at the game that way too, because my younger brother I think LaSean is 6 years younger than me. So in some ways, at some points in our career, it's like I look out for him like less than a big brother, but like sometimes like a child in certain ways. You know what I'm saying? How a parent looks over their kid, and so questions that he may not think about asking, I ask, right? And so with those two mindsets and when I deal with recruiting, that's kind of how I approach it. Um, I learned a long time ago, I never really talk about other people, other agents. Like I'm too busy talking about me, you know what I'm saying? Like what I do and what makes
I love
me.
that.
I stole that line from my boy. My boy,
I love it.
his name is Moshe Thompson. We call him Nanas. I'm gonna give him a shout out. But he always says, "Why would I talk about you when I could talk about me?" And
I
so
love
that's like
that.
my thing. Yeah, it's like it's no
Yeah.
reason to have that time to talk about those guys when I have enough accomplishments to list. I was an NFL PA certified agent for over a decade, right? And so just doing that work and negotiating and recruiting against other NFL PA agents, and then working a negotiation with the guys on the other side, that work for the team, like the GMs,
Yeah.
all those guys over there that do the cap guys that do their numbers. It's high level. There's millions at stake. That when I drop down a level and now I'm working just with college general managers that have a salary cap that goes every single year, it doesn't revolve around 5 years. It's every single year. Whereas in the NFL, it's the cap has guys are getting contracts for 5 and 7 years. So we
Right.
have to balance the money over 7, 10 years. These we just have to balance the money over one season,
Okay.
right?
Interesting.
So with
Yeah.
that being in mind, it's like I feel like I'm a little bit more well versed, I'll say, to not only recruit, but also negotiate because I've negotiated on that side where it's a lot more difficult. And then when you're doing this, it's a little bit more singular is the word I'll use.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. I do agents work too with the film industry, but I also am a sibling or an older sibling of many. And so I feel like you have that protection for your younger
Yeah, for sure.
right? And I
Hmm.
can tell that you help them navigate and figure out and stuff. Okay, I stalked some of your prior interviews and I found this amazing quote that you came up with. Money is used to eliminate the absence of chemistry. And
Sure.
the reasoning behind this, do you want to explain a little bit about what you meant by this? Because I thought this was just
Okay.
golden.
It comes to me from dating, right? It sounds crazy, right? But when you see
It's a good way
like
to
like
yeah.
when you see like a super old dude on a yacht and he's got like a pretty young girl, and it's like,
Yeah.
what do those two people have in common? The thing what they have in common is they both understand what the other person wants. So the old man wants a companion, the young girl just wants the lifestyle. So by
Yep.
giving cash, it eliminates the chemistry part. We don't need that. I'm giving you what you want. So universities are like that too. This is probably a crazy analogy, but it's true. Like universities are like, hey, I want your services. If I recruit you from the time you're in high school, there's a loyalty thing that we deal with. I've met your mom, I met your dad, you met my wife. They recruit that way. If they take you from another college in the transfer portal, there is no loyalty. I don't know you. You don't know me. You are coming here for a service, and I'm paying you for that service. So therefore, let's eliminate me thinking that your mom is great. You come from a great family. You're such a good kid, And the kid let me stop acting like you're the best program and it really fits my culture. I want to be paid to play. You want to pay me to play. And that eliminates the absence of chemistry. And I think that we have to fight against that. You know what I'm saying? Fight against the need to just take the cash and go to a place because they're paying you. Because 9 times out of 10, if you do, you're going to end up right back in the portal the next year trying to find a home. And then you become one of these young men that A, can't find a place to go to, or B, they're constantly shopping themselves around at different places. And that doesn't look good on the NFL resume either. If you're a college kid that's been to 4 or 5 schools, no matter what a
Right.
person tells you, the NFL looks down upon that, right? It looks like somebody that doesn't have stick-to-itness, or can't persevere when things get rough. You know
Well,
what I'm
no,
saying?
I mean, that's
So,
the same way. Yeah, I mean, that's the same way in the film industry too. If we see somebody who's represented by like a ton of, I mean, it's common to be represented by
mhm.
a bunch of agencies or agents, right? But if you're represented by a ton of them, there might be something wrong. There might be something going
Yeah,
on, kind of a thing.
for sure.
So yeah, yeah,
A lot of it is all personality too. You think about like one of the big things in NFL and now in college about recruiting or when they're looking to draft you is that they have to kind of fast forward and see how you're going to be in like a few years, right? That's like most people think it stops as a player. Like, how is this person going to be in a few years when we develop in our system? He's lifting the right weights, eating the right food. But a big part of that now is like these people that are evaluating are thinking about how are you going to be once I give you money? Like, what does that look like? Are you going
yeah,
to get the whatever big bag they give you and shut it down? Or is it only going to motivate you more? And then now you want more things. And so you're working even harder to get those things, right? So that's a part of like evaluating, like, how much does he love football? Or do you love the thing that football brings? I happen to have the liberty of being the person that I love the thing that football brought me, right? And so with all those things that it brought me, the game, like I said, will pass you and just someone else will take that spot. It helps me talk to my guys now to talk about all the pitfalls and things they should watch out for. If you don't love the game, if you don't take the game seriously, the game will pass you by.
yeah. No, that's very true. I love that you answered one of my questions too. That I was going to ask you about that. It's like looking at the deeper meaning to a contract, kind of a situation and life
Sure.
situation as well. And how has your being an agent affected your brother too? Your brother had a huge success in the football industry. Did you have some part in that? I feel like you probably
I think it would be wrong for me to just say like, I had a part in his success. I think that he's a person that was always kind of the opposite when we talk about the game of how you really feel about it. Like he always wanted to be a pro player, like always.
Mm,
And so every decision I think he made from like 6 was always about being a pro. So I don't know, you would always want to take credit, but you can't take up credit from a great player. You have to let them have that part. But what I will say is, I think he's helped me in terms of when a lot of players get done with the game. This is a real thing. When players are finished with football, because it's so big of our identity, we go through like a depression phase. Like, who are we? Where do we fit in this world? Who are we now? Right. And luckily for me, like when my career was over, I didn't have to go through that part because I was still able to be in the game with him. I could still be in the locker room around the players. And then that transitioned to another career in the sports side. Like when as an agent, we're representing NFL players. So now I'm on the sidelines before games and I'm out to eat after the games with players. So I lost the part of being on the field. But the thing that players miss the most is not technically the game, it's everything that the game provides, right?
yeah.
And so I think if anything, like when people always ask me like, how did I help him? I always mention like that part he helped me with because that's a big, big part. And players go through it. It's hard. Um, but you always have to, you kind of have to prepare for life after football. There's so many years left to live in this life after the game is over. But you don't think about when you're 21, 22.
Right. Yeah. No, you are speaking a very resounding message because so like every athlete deals with that. And it's actually interesting because I'm working on a film right now. I'm not gonna say what it is because I can't, but it's speaking to this side because it's a very huge side that every athlete goes through once they're done with the game, once the final buzzer ends, once the last game that they're in
Right.
type of competition, whatever they do, and that the last thing when it ends, and the thing that they love is closed off to them, and they have to redefine themselves. Like,
It's crazy.
that's how they even know. How do you do that? People have midlife crises already at, like, what, age 30, 35, and that's just
Hmm.
everybody. When you add on something that you've been defined by, that you love, that's just a whole different ballgame.
If you talk about any football player out there, you can say the same for basketball, but I'm just knowing what I really know.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell you exactly where I'm going to be at based on the month you give me. So it can be, you can say, tell me where you were at 6 years ago in January, or tell me where you'll be in 2 years in April. Because football
Wow.
players' lives are so regimented,
Yep.
they do everything starts on the same time for them, right? So I know that January is going to be like the end of the playoffs, and then the Super Bowl is going to be the second week in February, right? So after that, I have like 2 or 3 weeks off. Then the NFL Combine is going to be the last week in February. I'm going to be in Indianapolis. After that, you'll have pro days here and there, different cities. You'll have the draft in whatever city that's going to be in, usually New York, somewhere else. Okay. Then there's summer camps. I know exactly, like, I just know where I'll be at. Whereas most people are like, oh, I'm not sure. Like me, I'm in different cities, but I know exactly like kind of the schedule, the routine. My body knows it. So when you take all that out, say now it's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
We used to go to the locker room after practice and just sit there and just talk
Mm.
about dumb stuff for hours. Nah, now
Yeah.
you gotta go home to your wife. Go ahead, bro. Go home. Go home. Like, talk to your wife. You know what I'm saying? It's a different day. It changes. So
Yeah.
he was able to give me that part. It's definitely something that we talk about with our guys a lot. Not necessarily so much about that part of it, but just more so just keep it in mind. Have another passion out there. You know what I'm saying? Learn to transition your competitiveness to something else. Because when this game finishes, you're still gonna be that same competitor. You're still gonna want to be the same guy. You're gonna live the same way. Nobody wants to live in a penthouse and then come back down to average lifestyle, whether financially or emotionally. If you've been
Right.
riding high for 10 years, you don't want to be like, all right, you still kind of want to be the guy you've been.
Yeah. No, thanks for breaking that down, because I think that helps make it more real to people. When you have an environment or a group, a clan, a team that you're
Sure.
part of, and everybody understands you on that level in that area in that space, and you get out of that, and then everybody's like, well, I don't understand what you're talking about. That's a whole different
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you teach your kids and like you work with that with your athletes. What are some really cool accomplishments that you can look back on over your career? It's a lot, I'm sure.
I mean, so my favorite thing as an agent, it would be in two different phases. So on the representing NFL players that are in college and that now are going through the draft process. They go to the combine, they do their running and they're interviewing with coaches, and then I'm with them and their family on draft night, watching the call happen, watching
Mm,
everybody start to be quiet, and then there's tears and the kid screams,
yeah.
he's happy. That is always going to be number one for me, right? And again, I've got a chance. I've lived it. I did it. I remember how it was, and like you're trying to be cool, but you're also crying. It's crazy, right? And then I watched like my brother get drafted, and that was one where I had a lot more nerves. Like, is this gonna happen or when is it gonna happen? I knew it was happening, but it's like when, right? And then you're
Right.
watching people come off the board, and it's like there's a tension, a nervous energy in the room. From the agent side, when you're with the young guy, it's not really. I mean, the work's done. I just know how to, but they don't. It's different because it's their dream and they're waiting. But for me, I'm just waiting. I'm just doing the numbers. Like if you play wide receiver and you're ranked in the 30s, I'm just watching every single guy that goes off, thinking, okay, we're one step closer, right? But a
Mhm.
kid might be thinking like different. He gets a different feeling. So that's probably my biggest accomplishment, I guess, is to have seen a number of NFL players be drafted and work them through their contract, getting them their first NFL deal. I think this process in the NIL space has been the same thing. It's like taking a young man that is at one school and he wants to go to the portal for a different opportunity. If it's a young man that does things the right way and has the right vision about it, not just looking to get paid, but also just looking for a place that he feels more appreciated, or he feels like he can, just magnify his ability, right? And you help him find that spot through just your contacts, reaching out to coaches, and you start getting it going. You take them on a visit, they go to the university, and then things start to click. You can kind of see the light up, and then they leave the room, and I start to do my work. And then I go back to them and say, okay, these are the numbers that we talked about you being happy to go to another school at, right? And that number may be here. And then I tell them that I actually got here. Like that's kind of, I play those games sometimes with my guys too. If I hit a home run, I like string it out. I'm like, so how much would make you happy? What are you comfortable with?
Oh, I love
Knowing in my
that.
back pocket. Yeah. That's just for me though. I do that for myself.
Yeah.
But I think that those are things that kind of make me happy. Seeing how happy the guys are, watching them put their dreams out there on Front Street and then going out to attack them every day. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that I look forward to.
Yeah, those are great moments. I can only imagine that, and whenever you get your kids into something that they're supposed to, and it's something that they really wanted, or you've landed that deal, you've gotten those contracts signed, you've gotten the money, and it's like, okay, wow, that's good. And the person's happy, they're excited, they're looking forward to the future. That's always a
Hmm.
really good thing. You go a little bit deeper too, and you go into making sure they're emotionally, their family supports there and everything as well. Well, we're going to wrap it up here really shortly, but I wanted to ask you like two more questions. And one is, how do you bring in the parents? Because this is a whole different world. You're dealing with not just the athlete, but you're dealing with their support system, which a lot of times is family or immediate family and their parents. And that's a whole different juggle game. So, how do you work with that?
Well, I mean, me and my partner Ishmael, we like to say that we are an extension of the family, right? I don't want to do anything differently than you guys have already done. I don't want to make the decision on where you should go, what college you should attend. Like those are all your decisions. Even the financial advisor that helps you with your money is also a decision that you make, right? Because the way we spend money and different things is different. The way we go to school and how we play is different. Here's my job. My job is to make whatever decision you make, I make it fit your best interest in terms financially. I make that part fit. When you tell me you want to go to this university because you love the offense, you love the coach, you love the academics, great. I now make them compensate you on the level that is commensurate with the rest of the market, right? Because if not, like they will give you whatever you'll accept and be happy with that. Everybody wants a Ferrari, nobody wants to pay for it, right? So
Right.
I work hand in hand with the parents. We have updates weekly, sometimes even more when we're dealing with like a situation that's kind of hot. We might talk every day if there's multiple pieces moving around. I fancy myself like a weapon. You know what I'm saying? I tell them I'm a weapon and I'm dangerous, but I can only cause that danger if you point me and say that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? I can't do it on my own. You have to literally say this is what I want. Go do it, and then it's like okay, I got you. But you definitely have to work hand in hand with the parents. Even as a dad of a son that's 17, right? My son's 17, and so I
Wow.
think about what men would I want around my young man when I'm not there. So dads are thinking about that with their kid, like whether it be the agent or the head coach of whatever program. I try to make sure I'm that type of man that I would want my son to be around. So, the dads, me and them can understand each other on the same level.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's really true. That's a good agent. I think in short is I love how you approach that. Who are they around? That's really important because
For sure.
it speaks to not a parent mindset, but a caring mindset. You want to make sure that those people are around. Not just they're
Yeah.
not in the game, they're not just out there, they're not just made it into the industry. They're around good people that are going to help them succeed and not get lost in the sauce or completely get destroyed. So I think that's really smart. Appreciate you sharing that. What is
Hmm.
one or a couple last words of wisdom, how we can find you and work with you? Share that and let us know, how we can support you.
I don't know about words of wisdom. I think that let me
Think
start how
that
you can find me. So on Instagram, I'm at Dutch DUTCH. The company is at legacy.nil. We're legacy NIL.com, I believe. So real easy places to find us. Let me see. In terms of words of wisdom, I don't know. That was good. I fancy myself as a data dealer. That's what I like to call myself. Like I'm the neighborhood data
I love
dealer.
that.
And I gotta get some t-shirts printed up. I tell my guys to work on that. But this NIL space is all about information, right?
Yep.
And the lack thereof for the athletes and their families. And then on the other side of the table, the negotiators and the coaches, they have the knowledge of how much money's coming in the spaces. It's up to an individual like me to kind of help bridge that gap, give the information, give the data to the people that need it, and then help them utilize it. That's kind of the biggest words of advice I would give. Is just get information. Don't
Yeah.
be scared to ask questions. I'm not afraid to be the bad guy, because somebody has to be. Somebody has to be the bad guy
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, this deal is
True.
cool, but I want this, and I'm
Yeah.
actually not even taking your call until you give me this," because
Yeah.
that's the way that they operate on that same frequency.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the best I got for you. I got to come up with something like that. I'm ready to shoot off the hip.
I love it. No, you some
Some
great words of
closing
wisdom
things.
out there.
I appreciate that.
Definitely, guys, reach out to LeRon. He's fantastic. He's got a caring mindset and is a good big brother and also a good agent. Oh, go ahead.
Well, thank you. Yeah, just trying to be the best agent, and like I said, I'm a dad, so I look at it that way too. These conversations that we have, you go to these universities for 4 years, but you met that coach for like 2 years, maybe a year. It's a lot of trust to
Yeah.
give somebody, right? So I
Yep.
just want to at least make the trust factor as much as I can in the short amount of time we have.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you having me on, man, for sure.
Absolutely. And a really quick question, are we allowed to ask, is your son projecting in any direction as far?
Dash. So I don't know. Dash is okay. So his name is Dash. He's a super fast kid. He's one of the fastest guys, the fastest young men in Arizona. He's a senior this year for Hamilton High School. I don't know. We'll see. I think he's a year. So what happened? He's a year younger. He tested up, and at the time we were so ecstatic with how smart he was that I wish I would have kept him in his regular grade or even maybe reclassified him to a level down. You don't think in sports, but now that I'm here as a senior year, I would love for him to be a little older, his body to be a little bit more mature. But he does have some track aspirations in his near future. I don't want to put it out there and have to put the pressure on him, but yeah, we've been working on it. This is senior track season coming up, and we'll see what he does.
Awesome. Well, that is super cool. I actually know another
Yeah,
kid.
that's
Like,
super cool.
He's the fastest or the fourth fastest or third fastest in North Carolina or something like that. But
That's big.
yeah, that's a whole different world. Yeah, different world, different
Yeah,
ballgame.
I can't help him as much like with the tutelage. I
Yeah.
just tell him run faster. Yo, run faster. I don't
I mean,
really.
don't work.
But nah, and then one time he was telling me it's like a mental game. And I was like, mental, bro. It's 100 yards as fast as you can. Like, what part is mental? But
I
I
love
mean,
that.
to his credit, he's that's what he wants to do, and he's a
Aw,
very
that's
bright
so
kid. Yeah, for sure. I'm very proud dad of him and my daughter. So
oh my gosh, you got a full house there. That's awesome. I love it.
yeah, son and daughter. Daughter's 22, son is 17. Get old, but that was always the plan.
All right. Well, maybe one day the girls could get into football for real, you know? I don't know if that's her
Yeah,
aspirations.
things are happening. They're already moving. They're doing their flag football stuff. They're getting scholarships now to university. So the women are
Yep.
definitely putting on the charge.
Yeah, thank goodness. They're starting to come up there a little bit. So one day it'll all work out.
Absolutely.
All right, LeRon, thanks so
Sure.
much. Appreciate you being here. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Definitely go check out LeRon, give him a shout out, say hello, ask questions, be curious, make sure that you know what you're getting into. And yeah, I mean, for real,
Cool.
definitely know what you're getting into. Take care and support the show, guys. We'll see you back here next time.